This video is sponsored by Fourdees, who provided the kits that I will be building for you in this video. These are 009 models of Tallysline Railway coaches number 19 and 20, meticulously 3D modelled and printed with everything you need. As you can see, mine are looking a little blue, and that's because I've finished mine as Skarloey Railway equivalents. But you can of course paint yours however you wish. Check out the links in the description to find this kit for yourself, either on the Fourdees website or on their eBay store. Not only that, but you can actually find almost all of the Tallysline Railway's bogey coaches here, as well as locos and rolling stock from other railways as well. If you'd like to see me make more of Fourdees models, let me know in the comments. What I immediately appreciate is the packaging that these models arrive in, which is a very sturdy box with foam to keep the contents secure. It makes for a great storage box once the models are complete. All the parts are neatly packed in bags, and there's an instruction manual to tell you what to do. Many 3D printing companies expect you to buy parts from elsewhere to finish a model, like wheels and couplings, but these coaches come with everything to make a running model. There's the two coach bodies themselves, two roofs, and two interiors. There are 4 bogies with the wheels included, and the choice between typical NEM couplings and close couplings for display. There's even a sheet of perspex to use for the windows. So other than paint, glue and a little bit of patience, there is nothing else needed before we set off. The prints are extremely high quality and would be fine without any adjustment whatsoever. But on the roofs, I decided to sand down the large, curved surfaces just to make sure that no print lines would be visible. To hold their shape, the coaches themselves have internal bracing, which is easily cut away with a craft knife. It's just the diagonal bracing that needs removing, as there is also a frame along the bottom that needs to be kept in place. There are also some smaller braces to be taken out, ironically, from the bracing on the underframe. Everything else is ready to be painted right out of the box, so I used some blue tack to cover over the axle boxes on the bogies. This is to prevent any paint making the wheels stick, and these will be hidden from sight by the wheels. Everything is held down on wooden blocks, then it's out to the garden for a spray of primer. As usual, this is Tamiya Light Grey. And it's important to remember to spray the inner walls as well, because they will be visible through the windows. Whilst that's drying, back inside I start cutting those out. I got way happier about this than probably is normal, because the perspex for the glass is protected by a peelable sheet on either side. That's exciting because it means that they can be measured and cut without any finger marks getting on them. I don't know, I haven't seen this before, because I usually use old bits of packaging to make the windows, and make a right mess of it. So, to be able to peel away the film after all of the cutting is a genius idea, because the pen marks won't show up. Each coach has different dimensions for the windows, and number 20 has the saloon end as well. These measurements are all noted in the instruction booklet. There is also enough for a spare piece or two, if you muck it up. Once the coaches are back inside, the glass can be test fitted, before the main paint begins. Tamiya lining tape is used to separate the two colours. I tried extra carefully to make sure that it was properly sealed all the way around the raised surfaces. We wouldn't want the paint leaking underneath the tape, would we? This was extra tricky on the coach ends, as the air brake and train communication system equipment is in the way. Smaller strips of tape skirted around these, then layered over. Seamless. Of course, the Talaslin's passenger stock livery is different to the Skarloey's, and for that, from what I've seen, most people paint the coach red first, then block off the door panels and paint the brown frames around that. Fourdees also provide quick fix decal packs to add lining transfers to their products, which makes things much easier as they are already designed to fit. Well, it's a nice and simple blue and cream livery for Skarloey stock, with no intricate lining, so hopefully nice and straightforward. Tom T. Legend gave advice for this, as he's previously painted some Skarloey coaches to a great standard. He suggested that I paint the blue first, as the cream paint was extremely thin. I was worried that using more layers of that than the blue would cause it to seep through, so I promptly ignored him. Sorry. The paint we both used is Tamiya Racing White, sort of like a Herbie colour, and I can confirm it is extremely thin. I dared to do 4 coats over a few days, but any more would have made the paint pool in the corners, and that would never do. Clearly, I made each coat a bit too thick, as the paint itself started forming bubbles. Any more and it would begin to layer over some of the finer details like the air vent. Oh well, at least this is the satisfying bit when you get to peel the tape away. Turns out that where I had doubled up the tape, that was okay for the most part. A bit of paint escaped down the sides of the doors, which was expected. On the coach ends, however, where there was only one layer of tape, the paint seeped right through, which was a bit of a mess to rectify. So, what have we learned for future? Well, 4 coats is too much, use more tape, and don't spray so close to the model. I might even consider using a different brand of paint in future, but I cycled a good 14 miles for this can, so I was absolutely going to use it. To remedy this catastrophe, here's the view of my windowsill instead. Bramble is kindly letting Nettle use him as a pillow. Anyway, the tape is then stuck over the cream paint so that the blue can be added. For that, I bought a wrong shade for another project recently, but saved it as it makes for a good Skarloey blue. This is 94 Electric Blue, a brand of paint that I believe is usually used for street art, so a bit of a risk using it on such a fine scale model. 1 coat was enough for this, and the tape was nervously pulled away. This time it turned out much better, especially as I had used individual pieces around each door handle. There's hope yet. The roofs will stay in the primer grey, but the other parts need painting by hand. A dark grey acrylic mix is used for the bogeys, the close couplings, and the underframes. Finer details like the brake pipes and lamp irons are picked out too. and the buffers go in a lighter grey. Some modelers aren't fussed about finishing the interiors, but it is structurally important on these models, so they are prepared next. These are just like the real things scaled down, with all the seats in the right places, luggage racks included, and carvings on the wall panels. I've used Humbrol No. 62 leather to paint the wooden parts, which in itself would be passable for Talyllyn brown. On the coaches themselves, one coat left a wood grain effect, which I quite liked. I made sure to include the beams across the roof as well. The floors get a quick wash with grey acrylic to make it appear like they've been stood on. Number 19 is a third and first class composite, with red seats for standard travel and blue for the fancy first class. The white headrest covers are also picked out in white, and brass added to the luggage racks. It probably would have been wise to test that all the parts fit together first, but thankfully Fourdees have done the calculations right, and the interiors simply slot into place. There are clips on the base of the interiors that hold onto the frame at the bottom of the coach. It's important that these are all in place, as otherwise the wheels won't sit level. A drop of glue helps to keep them secure. I also test fit the glass and the roof. Using Humbrol leather again, the footboard is now covered, and the door handles painted brass. Whilst adding these fancier elements, I decided to start adding transfers. These are Old Time Workshop TR coach decals, and I've had them for so long that they are indeed old. Each bit is cut out with a craft knife, held in warm water with a drop of washing up liquid for about 15 seconds, then carefully slid off the backing paper into position. The numbers are added to the corners, and first class to that compartment. Only after filming did I realise that I was adding this label in the wrong place. It should have been on the doors. So I had to remove it and start again. Always check your reference photos. I blame the first class passengers. Number 20 has a wheelchair accessible saloon, so that label is added here in the right place. The numbers are added to both sides, but there are only doors on one side of the coaches at the Talyllyn, so that is the only side to get the other decals. At this point I should pause and say that there aren't actually a confirmed number 19 and 20 on the Skarloey railway, and we never see them in the books. However, it's pretty safe to assume that there were some, and that they would resemble the stock on the Talyllyn, perhaps even being constructed as the same order. Either way, I was excited to see these coaches in the Skarloey livery, so that is what I've done. On that note, if anyone does feel brave using the racing white paint, I found that Humbrol number 41 matches really well. So using this, I hand painted any touch-ups where the paint wasn't quite perfect. Maybe using this as the main colour will work better next time. We'll have to see. Speaking of seeing, before the Perspex sheet is added, the models get sprayed with Halford's clear lacquer to keep the transfers in place. Now the very satisfying bit, as you get to peel away the plastic sheeting. Exciting stuff. If cut to the right size, these will hold themselves in place, but I added a few drops of Humbrol Clear Fix to make sure that they were pressed up against the windows. Using super glue, as I have done before, tends to leave stains on the glass. And so, to that end, I used Humbrol Liquid Poly to glue the roof in place. I'm not adding any to my models, but if you wanted passengers in the coaches, you would have to of course add them now before sticking the roof on. With the liquid poly in place, I hunted around the house to find where Nettle had hidden all the rubber bands, and used these to prevent the roof from bending. Home stretch now, as the blue tack is removed from the axle boxes, and the bogies assembled. The Pico wheels slot into place, making it easy enough to replace them with metal ones if you prefer. Each bogie is stamped with the coach that it is designed for, as the minute differences between them are all accurately modelled. They assemble and clip into place just like the Pico diamond frame bogies, with no screws or glue required. Same for the couplings, which are either custom designed close couplings or the typical NEM style for curved layouts. Lastly is to add a bit of weathering. The Talyllyn coaches are of course clean and tidy, but soot still settles on the roof, and grease still gets smudged on the buffers. Where the doors are, naturally the footboard would be more faded where passengers walk, so Tamiya weathering powders are applied heavier here. The whole model gets a light dusting in brown and black, in a vain attempt to hide some of the paint blemishes. There we go, 2 preservation era Talyllyn coaches. Coupled with the other Fourdees products available, you can imagine how good a whole train would look with these on a layout. The real coaches were built at the Talyllyn Railway between 1968 and 1970, designed by Tisdales. Number 19 has 4 third-class compartments, with 2 first-class ones in the middle. Number 20 was originally built as an all-third coach, but it was rebuilt in the 1990s with the accessible saloon that it has today, still with 3 third-class compartments. These scale models of them can withstand up to 12-inch radius curves without modification, such as by clipping the buffers if you have sharper curves on your layout. They have been a joy to put together, and I'm looking forward to pairing them with a loco and on a layout. Once more, thank you to Fourdees for producing such high quality kits, and for covering such a wide range of rolling stock, making it possible to recreate present day TR trains and more. Follow the link in the description to get the double pack for yourself, and check their Facebook for updates. If you found this model showcase useful, let me know in the comments, and subscribe as there are more on the way if you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. A big thank you to the following channel patrons: Alex Goodman, GBH Train, D0280 Falcon, Sean Tempest, Random Thomas Fan, Dark White 73, Andrew Dyack, Reese Lee Walter, Ryan RTS, Ewan Pentland, Steam Power 4472, Jude 72, Firewind 10, Luneacres Photography, Mario Sonic 64, Elias, Soda Fox Art, and TJOC 9891.